know, your business is essentially classified as an essential services business. I'm sure you also had to go under the same deal of pressure to meet the needs and demands in the healthcare space. How have you had to kind of manage and adapt your strategy to meet these demands?
I think we have had to consider increased demand that we're seeing from the market. I think our sector is relatively fortunate in that, unlike other sectors who have seen almost a complete disappearance of custom, we've seen quite a healthy increase in business. Now, that has a lot of downstream impacts, and here I'm talking about orders from suppliers and their importation of products that come from overseas. So in the short term, we've seen some delays in supplies, which has meant that we have had to communicate to our stakeholders, particularly clients, to let them know that we are going to be facing temporary but not permanent influence in supplies. What is critical as well is an area of supplying personal protective equipment. We've seen quite a spike in requirements, and we're having to onboard new suppliers who are not known to the business and who we have to take some time in vetting.
Toko, what were some of the key adaptive strategies that you had to take as a firm to prepare for this lockdown?
I think like many businesses, South African businesses and global businesses, the pandemic took us all by surprise. As business, we were not ready or to be prepared to understand the extent of the impact, and we could not consciously prepare for the pandemic as well as the effect of the lockdown. Instead, we have had to adapt as we navigate through the challenges that we are facing. But I think what is quite important, we have had to reprioritize our areas of focus. One, I think quite often as a business, we always strive to deliver on shareholder value, but we've also had to look at how we prioritize other stakeholders that are quite pivotal for the existence and the sustenance of our business. I.e., we've had to look into how do we take care of our staff members during this time, and how do we create an understanding of what makes the customer tick in a manner that is meaningful, which will enable us to be able to offer services that are required to our customers. I think the second element that is actually quite important, we position our brand in such a way that we are not seen as a company that is self-serving. So we've had to really participate in areas where we thought that it will allay concerns or allay burden, either by providing donations in the form of supplying gas that will generate or that will produce sanitizers that are much needed, but without basically pushing the agenda of brand positioning, because if we do that, sometimes people tend to disregard the good effort that you put in, but focus on the negative that you are taking an advantage, basically.
So from a Masana perspective, the approach we had to take, certainly I'll say at a micro level, there was a recognition that we do not have the luxury of time to get the board to be involved in some of the key decisions that we had to make and make very quickly. And the first one is around safety. And we had to say, all the actions that we are taking, as long as it is to provide for the safety of our people, the safety of our operations and the business, the board will have to understand.
Now, Lelo, coming to you, what are some of the key things that are unpacking themselves as members of your investee companies are sharing their stories around having to prepare for a crisis?
So I think what is coming through quite clearly is it's almost impossible to prepare for something like this. I think it was an unknown, and therefore impossible to prepare for. I think two things that I'm hearing coming out is speed and quality of decision making, and two, communication.